All right, today we're gathering with writer Ira Madison III, host of the podcast Keep It, author of the book Pure Innocent Fun, which is out early next year, and just overall a purveyor of pop culture that I very much respect. I love that he isn't afraid to go against the grain. Ira, it's great to see you again. It's been a couple of weeks. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Okay, so Ira, I asked you on today we're gonna do like a Real Housewives franchise power ranking. But before we jump
Mhm.
into that, I feel like now is a good time to sort of do that assessment because it's the first time in a very long time that there are no Real Housewives airing. So before we jump into
Mhm.
that, I wanted to just get your general thoughts on where we are with Real Housewives right now.
Okay, so first of all, let me pull up even the list because I'm like, what's even airing anymore?
Hmm.
It is weird to be in this space of like, there's no Housewives to watch.
It's weird.
I mean, thank God Summer House is good this season again, and I love the Valley, but and Martha's Vineyard, which I
Same.
have to. I'm like not caught up on it, but
It's
it is
good.
weird having none of the women in our lives. But I also think that we needed a break because, thinking about these rankings, um, I was wondering, like, do we rank them based on, how popular they are, the ones that still have good ratings, or like the importance of them, or just
Right.
whether or not they're still entertaining. And there's so many of them that are popular still that, like Beverly Hills, for instance, that feel like have had like really iffy seasons for a while. And then there's something like Salt Lake City, which is not getting massive ratings, but is so entertaining.
So how did you when I said power rankings, how did you interpret that? Because we'll jump into where we stand, but I'm curious how you kind of took that.
Power rankings, I went by whether or not I'm entertained by the show and whether or not the women on the show are sort of important within the overall Bravo sphere.
Yeah. I like that. I like that assessment. Like to me, it's like what's essential. I do think that when I thought about this, I was thinking about this current situations that the shows are in and like whether they
Mm-hmm.
had good last seasons because there are so
Mm-hmm.
many that are a little bit in flux right now, like in
Yeah,
various states of flux, I would say. But like,
it has to be season based at the
yeah,
current season based. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like we'll get into it, but like I look at something like Atlanta, which is like to me 5 years ago, that probably would have been in the top three. But now it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's just in such a weird state right now, even
Oh,
though
it's
like
at the bottom,
right.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, basically. Not necessarily the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we may end up with different interpretations of what this means, but as my
Hmm.
guest, I want you to go first. So what is we'll start with ninth place being the lowest on the ranking of power rankings for Real Housewives franchises. What is your number nine ranking?
My number nine, I would have to put Potomac.
Really? Okay.
I thought that I didn't even care about this fucking season. Okay.
Did you watch
But
it?
I stopped watching midway through. I stopped watching when they were in Texas, Houston for
The Austin
20
trip was tough.
episodes.
Yeah, it was
20
20
episodes.
episodes.
By the time we were watching turtles racing or whatever, I was out. Chickens? There were chickens. Sorry.
Chickens pooping on like bingo.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that. Sorry, I was at a turtle racing bar in Bushwick last night. It got mixed up in my brain. Um, that, and then I kept trying to dip in for other episodes, but I would just get like
Mm,
mostly bored, and I could only take one part of the reunion. Like, and I just like I couldn't do anymore, to be honest. And the problem with that too is that I still feel like I've seen everything because I think maybe you talked about this before online or on your podcast. I think I saw like a thing of you talking about it, and then I've seen other people write about it online. We're in such a weird place with Bravo where everything is released before the episode. I
yeah.
feel like there are so many clips that are dropped, especially of Potomac, that are dropped sort of like out of context of the whole episode, and then it just has people arguing about it online all week before the show even drops. But I've seen clips of the show, I've seen clips of the reunion and everything. So, it's when you're a Bravo fan, you can't really sort of ignore an entire show.
I know. I know. And I totally agree about the season. I finished the season off. I thought it did get slightly better, but like it wasn't essential viewing. And obviously now the show is in this state of like, okay, we lost Candace and Robin, and apparently they're jumping back
Mhm.
into filming, which is really shocking to me. So
Like in a week or so,
yeah,
right?
like in a week. And so we have a lot of returning people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like I liked what you said on Twitter, which was like, okay, if we're gonna have Wendy and Giselle still on the show together, we can't do the
They gotta sit down.
coexisting thing anymore. They have to either spar, they have to like address the elephant in the room and say what their issues are with one another, or like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's they there's so many problems with Potomac, and I get why they want to start it up again because I mean the Grand Dame's DUI for one,
Yeah, no, I think that's probably part of the
Mia,
reason.
yeah, Mia and the divorce. I feel like maybe there could be a situation where they just want to get, we're hearing that they're filming now. Maybe they just want to get cameras up on some of these situations now and then take a break again. Like that happened with Salt Lake City last season,
Yeah, right.
Like they taped a bit early on, took a bit of a break, and then came back, you
Jump
know?
into the meat of the season. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Potomac was my number 7. So I actually have two below Potomac, but
Okay.
yeah, but so my number 9, Ira, was Dubai because I just feel like at least Potomac, people are talking about it still. That it might not be in the
Mm-hmm.
most like positive sense, but it's still being talked about. And to me, Dubai, it's been 2 years since the first season. We're just getting season two. We're still a month away from that. Like there
Mm-hmm.
are some stars on this cast, but it just feels like a lot of them sort of like studied the Housewives handbook, other than maybe Caroline Stanberry. And like, so
Mm-hmm.
it lacks some of the authenticity that like gets people to like really latch onto a show like this. Their BravoCon showing was like really lackluster, I think. So like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like it just there's such like a lack of excitement around it. The trailer was
Mm-hmm.
decent, I guess, but I don't know. What do you think about Dubai? Do you care about it?
That's my number 8. And
Okay.
my thing is, I didn't care about Dubai at all last
Yeah.
season, to be honest. But I actually was intrigued by the women post the season airing at BravoCon. I liked the trailer a lot, and I think there is some buzz. Some of the buzz died off because they waited so damn long to
Right.
drop it.
Exactly.
But I get why they've waited so long to drop it when you now see that we are basically in a dead zone of Housewives. They could have dropped it earlier and then we'd really probably have nothing on the schedule, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, totally.
And I don't know. I really like this vibe of Caroline and Chanel becoming friends
Yeah. It's
because I
interesting.
think that that is classic Housewives, when you have people who have beef and then the season airs and then it's sort of why are we fighting? Also, we're two of the most popular people on the show. Like, we should be friends. And I think what's then created some fun authenticity in that is that obviously Les is upset about that.
Totally.
You
Totally.
know,
Yeah. And she
she's like, "What is this?"
and I actually think that like she is low key like one of the biggest stars on that show because like she had that read at BravoCon that I still think about where she said to Sheree like McQueen more like McSheen and like
Yes.
it brought the house down and like she has some other line in this trailer and I don't know she's very quick on her feet so I'm actually excited I guess to see her sort of in the like the Squirmish role where she like lost
Here's
her
what I
best
see
friend.
happening.
Yeah.
No. Okay, because yeah, she's losing her best friend, and obviously Chanel linking up with Caroline will make both of them more popular. Because even though Caroline, it's so interesting that Caroline was sort of really boring and annoying in season one, and we loved her so much on Ladies of London. But I
Loved.
think she just
Yeah.
wasn't like she was not playing. She was giving very Jenna Lyons tease in that season.
Yes. So
It's
true.
like it was boring. It was like she didn't really offer anything, but don't you see the vibe of like like Lessa being like very popular on the show, Chanel now like switching teams and maybe becoming more popular than her? Do you get shades of like Mariah and Quad after season one
I
of
could see
Married to
that.
Medicine?
I could see that. Totally.
Because they were best friends in that first season and then not again after season one. And it was, I think that Brian Moylan has always said that every fight on Housewives is really about the show.
Hmm.
And I think that the fight between Les and Chanel is really sort of, it's jealousy over the Caroline thing, but it's really about the show too. And it's like, I'm dropping you because maybe you're not as interesting to pair up with, and I'm pairing with Caroline Stanbury
Yeah,
now.
the two biggest stars are now the duo, and Chanel is like Chanel's also very online, so she would totally like pay attention to that
Very.
and know that. Very.
The only person who rivals her is Tamra Judge. Okay, Tamra is at home. I love that Tamra like basically like live tweets every Bravo show.
I know. Like, how does she have
like,
the
when
time?
Do you have the time, sis?
Like, I know it's wild. I'm impressed, but it's and she just was filming a show too, so I don't know how that works. Yeah. Okay, so
well,
that's
how we know she got cut from Traders early, right? She had too much time on her hands.
She was in that hotel room. Oh my God. Okay, so Dubai was your number 8. My number 8 is Atlanta.
Okay.
As I said earlier, 5 years ago, Atlanta would have been top 3 at least, maybe even the top. It was the highest rated show for so long, and I feel like we almost took it for granted that it had like such a deep cast full of stars. Like even like the people who were less obvious were still stars. And now we're in the midst of a long pause. There's a cast reshuffling. We've gotten like sporadic announcements about who is coming back, who's staying on, who's leaving, but like the cameras still aren't up. We're unsure who else is filling out this cast. There's a lot going on around Portia in particular that like is not being picked up by the cameras.
It's being picked up by Sheree.
It's being picked up by Sheree, who is just posing with what's his face, Portia's Simon and his new woman. So she's working for the contract. Believe me.
She's like, please cast me.
Listen, and I'm here for it. Like we need that kind of mess that's going to make headlines on Atlanta, and like that's why I'm hopeful for the future of Atlanta. But right now, it's still unclear what the status is.
So I have them at my 7 because I feel like Atlanta, even with how bad last season was, it got bad, but it wasn't. It got boring sometimes too, but it wasn't unwatchable, and it never made me angry in the way that Potomac does. Right. I think a large part of the problem with Potomac is you have a lot of these women on the show who won't film together or like won't do the actual job of being a housewife. And I still think that like even with the boredom and stuff, and even with Marlo being extra and like some people not really working, like Sonya, everyone was showing up to try and work.
You're right.
Atlanta. And I think there's more, because it has been so iconic, there is more goodwill towards the show than any other sort of show that's been rebooted, to be honest. I mean, Atlanta's sort of always right up there with New York, as the most iconic, 100%. I think, of the shows on Bravo. And obviously what's happened with RHONY is what happens with RHONY. But, I think that no one really wants like a full-scale reboot of Atlanta, which is why people were so excited that Kenya's coming back, my girl, that Portia's coming back. And the thing I was excited about the most, when Kenya posted that she was coming back to the show, Portia in the comments, typing like, yes, season 16, let's twirl, and like fire emoji. I'm like, great, give us those two as friends this season. It'll give us shades of like season 10 when Nene and Kenya were friends.
Yes.
And that was so fun. And it changed the dynamic with everybody. Like that's what we need. We need Portia and Kenya on the same side, somewhat, at least, because without Candy there as a center next year, we do need a center to the show. And I think it's going to take the both of them. And I think that Sheree would also help within that mix.
I think so too. And like, I think they're kind of one of those duos that like, that eventually they'll find themselves back on rocky footing. So like, let's get the fun of them together and just like kind of kikiing together and being really fucking funny and like fun and entertaining. And like, I think you're right that like Atlanta always has goodwill around it. Like people want it to succeed. People want to root for it. And like, because like, I mean, we've spent so much time with Portia, so much time with Kenya over the years, so much time with Sheree over the years. in a way that just feels like we're more entrenched with them than I guess Potomac. But like, so I agree. Like the future of Atlanta
Mm,
should be bright with
yeah.
Portia and Kenya as your columns. Like, I don't know. You can't fuck
Hmm.
that up. That's pretty hard to fuck up.
It's so interesting too because when you think about the goodwill towards them, right, and then you think about the goodwill towards like the RHONY legacy women, right? There's obviously similarities and differences, but I don't know, like even at their worst of the show, like there was still always the need to bring those women back. Whereas like for New York, it felt like you really sort of had to clean house because it was just like I don't know, the Dorinda of it all. And then it was
Yeah.
just like, it just felt like very dark and unwatchable. And then the Ramona of it all too. And I think that we'll get to that when we get to Roni. But
Yeah, we will.
Roni Legacy, if we were including it in these rankings, would not be anywhere near the top for me.
There we go. Okay, so we have both done our first three. Let's get to our number six. Mine is New York. Mine's the new New York. Yeah, and for me, it's like it's sort of middle of the pack because I enjoyed the first season. It's a
Mm-hmm.
solid cast, promising cast. They're all coming back, but I kind of feel like they have a lot to work with in their second season to prove
Mm-hmm.
that they sort of like can inch up this list, that they have the potential to inch up this list. Like I think they
Exactly.
do have that, but like if you fumble the bag with, Rebecca Minkoff coming in, who's an outspoken Scientologist,
Is
and
she the?
she
Is
is,
okay? She
is
is. She is.
she
Okay.
is like she's done it. She's talked about it in interviews. Like
Mm.
there's some Page Six article that says that there's a picture of her and Danny Masterson from one of her store openings like 10 years ago being texted amongst the cast and crew right now. So like apparently
Mm.
if they like that to me, if that's going to be like a central tenet of this coming upcoming season, I'm intrigued. I don't know.
Girl, I mean, come on, I need Sai to go to work then.
Exactly.
That is
Exactly.
exactly what you want a Sai de Silva, by the way.
Hmm.
Not harassing Jessel for no reason about her upbringing, like going after a woman who's a Scientologist and being like, "Where's Shelley?" That's what I want to hear.
Not where's Shelley, but where is
um,
Shelley?
yeah, where is she? I love the Roni cast. I love Jessel. I love Erin, to be honest, even though she has
Me too.
Ramona like tendencies, and her loose Republicanosity going on.
Hmm.
She is a real like New York person, and she feels a lot like she wasn't shifting herself for the cameras. Like that really was just her. And I think that I'm so glad that the women are coming back because I hated this about other Housewives franchises, particularly Beverly Hills. This need to fire a housewife after one season.
I know.
Like you can't. That's why I'm glad all these women are coming back from Dubai. Like if you had fired like Lessa Chanel or Caroline, like you wouldn't have this current triangle that's going on right now. We need these women to be introduced to us. We need audience reaction. We need them to be comfortable with each other because a lot of season one of the Roni reboot was just, lame beefs, and
They were getting
arguments
to know
about
each
silly
other.
things.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
didn't even know each other.
And
Yeah.
now that they know each other and they become popular from the show, and, like Jessel has become the star, when that wasn't the case in season one, and like there's going to be push and pull. And, I think that we'll get a lot of really fun dynamics. And I think that Sai will be a lot better this season. I don't know. I was very hard on her in that first
A
season.
lot of people were. You weren't
A
the
lot of
only
people
one.
were. And I don't know. I interviewed her and I was like, she's fun, in a way that we couldn't see on TV. And every time I run into Sai in the city, that's not like her taping, right? Like
Right.
you see them all the
Yeah,
time.
it's like a random
Like I
parties
see,
and
yeah,
events and
of
things. Yeah.
course. And every time I talk to Sai, like she's a key. Like she's fun. I
Yeah.
like truly of all of them that I've run into, I would actually rank Sai as the sort of like most chill and funny to talk to and hang out with at a party. And I hope
Interesting.
that you can get that vibe of her on the show next year. And I
Hmm.
also really love that post season one, it seems that she and Jessel are cool.
Yeah, I love that. That reminds me like the sort of her being more fun in real life than on the show and getting this kind of like iffy edit. It kind of reminds me of Crystal because every time I ran into Crystal
Mm.
or talked to Crystal outside of an interview
She's so
setting,
cool.
she's so cool. I wanted to be friends with her. She was so open, but like for some reason, the edit on the show just like never captured that. And so I
Yeah,
hope with Sai that they're able to capture that because I
yeah.
do sense that from her, like you were just
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah, I don't really know Crystal that much from Beverly Hills, but like I am friends with her friend Nia Hill, Bill Burr's
Oh
wife.
yeah, she
And
was on the show this
Nia,
season.
yeah, and Nia's just always like, Crystal's so down and chill. And it's just like it's you've never really seen it on the show. Honestly, Nia, I would love for her to be on the show.
I
She
loved her
came in
on
for
that one episode.
that one taco party,
And she
and
was giving.
she was giving almost just as much as Erica gave that season. So that's that's what we need.
Yeah.
And actually, I have Beverly Hills as my number five.
Okay. So was New York also your six?
Yes,
Okay, great. We were aligned on that. Okay, so Beverly Hills at five. What are your thoughts? What's the latest?
Beverly Hills is hard, as a show. It is Beverly Hills is a hard relationship that you're in. Okay, we've been together with Beverly Hills for 13 years. Okay, there's been good times, there's been bad times, and right now the show is feeling like a relationship where you've been in the bad times,
Hmm.
and now you're not back to the amazing heights of when you first met and were falling in love. You're not having an amazing time together, but you're comfortable and the relationship's okay. Last season was good. It wasn't great. It was frustrating. I think that this is the first season where sort of like the seams were starting to burst around Kyle Richards.
Hmm.
A
Yeah.
lot of people were just sort of like, okay, girl, like if you're not going to play ball on the show, why are you here? Like, and it's not that I want Kyle Richards to be fired, but honestly, I think Kyle Richards should take a season off.
Oh, really?
I think Kyle should take a season off. I think that there would be the same way that Renna needed some time off. And I'm actually of the opinion that I don't think Renna should be fired for good. I think that Renna was very toxic and messy and bad for the show. But I actually think that if Kyle took a season off, I would love for Renna to be back the next season because I think she's had enough time away from the show where she could come back in and be fun again. I think she's a necessary evil for the show,
Hmm.
very Kenya Moore-ish. But even my girl Kenya had to take a season off
She did take a
when she
season
pissed
off.
off when she pissed off Bravo for having
Right.
that secret wedding, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Renna pissed
exactly.
off Bravo. She's
Yeah.
had like a couple seasons off. Bring her back. Has it been one or two?
It's been one. I think this
One.
coming season would be two, but I feel like
Oh.
I
Why does it
I
feel like Renna's been off Beverly
I
Hills
know
for
it
5 years?
does feel like it's been a very long time. It does. I feel like with Rinna, I agree with you. I think that like I kind of viewed her being put on pause versus like fired fully, but it kind
A
of feels
real
like
pause.
right, a real pause, but like right, exactly. A real pause. They aren't rebooting Beverly Hills, but I feel like since the show she's like doing all this high fashion stuff. She kind of like shits on the show a little bit. So
Yeah.
I don't know if she's
Very
ready to come back
Bethany.
yet. Yeah.
Very Bethany
It's very
vibes.
Bethany. Yeah. So
Mm.
I agree with you. I actually had Beverly Hills at number two on my list,
Mm.
and not because I
What's it
agree.
giving you? What's it
I
giving you,
agree. I
baby?
agree. This season is like the last season was fine. It was good, but like it's still the highest rated one. It still makes the most
True.
headlines. It still has some of the biggest stars on Bravo, and like
That's fair.
I just feel, and I do, but I am a little bit like cautious about the next season that they're jumping into filming apparently, and I'm glad we lost Anna
Yep.
Marie. I'm kind of
Mm.
upset about Crystal. I just
I'm
think that
annoyed too because
yeah,
Anna Marie, I mean, obviously, like the husband. Let's talk about the husband. But if it weren't for the husband stuff, I probably would have said like keep her,
oh
because
really?
I
Oh,
would have loved to
I was
see I would have
off
loved to
her.
see another dynamic. I mean, I just hate people being one and
One,
done,
I know. She just like
Um,
seemed like a flop from the get-go to me. I don't know.
that's fair. They've been casting some real flops
I
lately,
know.
okay? And I don't get it. They haven't had a real like successful person since Crystal, but then wasn't successful because like she's gotten the axe, you
I
know?
know. It's sort of like in LA, you have to imagine that there's no shortage of women who are sort of like in the same Rinna, Garcelle, Denise Richards, Eileen Davidson camp, where it's like they've been famous before. They'd bring some cachet to the show, but they're trying to revitalize their career via Housewives. Like
Hmm.
there has to be somebody else like that they can throw in there who I think that would add like positive excitement to the show. I don't know. I don't know.
I
That's
think someone needs to come back.
who would you
I don't
think
know
needs
who,
to?
but I'm
Okay.
like, I feel like someone needs to come back to Beverly Hills. You know, I think that someone who just knows the game
Yeah.
and would get back into it, but
Camille.
also,
Camille.
but yeah, I don't know. Camille's kind of mess. Maybe Camille actually, because Camille actually like does
She plays
well.
ball. She plays
She
ball.
does. She plays ball. People like there are people who don't like her on the show. There are people who do like her within the cast. No Denise. I don't
No,
need to see
Denise.
Denise ever
She
again.
did not. She was not a success coming
She
back this
flopped.
season.
I
Yeah.
don't need to see Lisa Vanderpump either. She's good in the villa. Actually really enjoying Vanderpump Villa. So keep her there. You
Yeah. I
know?
think she thrives in that sort of mentor role anyway. She doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't
She
know.
lost that on like it makes no sense for her to be on Vanderpump Rules anymore. It's so weird when
I
she
agree.
shows up and talks to these
Well,
people.
she's feuding with Jax Taylor on this recent episode. I'm just sort of like,
Oh,
what's
is
going on
she?
here?
I'm
Yeah.
not caught up, but I'm like, you're fighting with Jax. It's like
Yeah. It's
you
like,
really should
dude.
only be. I'm like, who cares about Tom Tom anymore? But I'm like, she should only really be around to maybe give advice to Katie and Ariana about their restaurant. But it's like she should be like Patricia at this point, you know. And honestly, Lisa gives less than Patricia gives when Patricia is in a scene on
Southern Charm.
Southern Charm. You know, like
Listen,
she's not
it's
even
a
getting
pretty
that
good comparison,
anymore.
actually. I have to say.
I don't know what is gonna shake up
I know.
Beverly Hills.
I do think that like with the Kyle of it all, I'm like, we at least if she's not going to do the Morgan stuff, which like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm unsure about. The next thing we need to see is like we actually do need some sort of update in terms of like her and Mauricio. Like, has somebody moved
Mm-hmm.
out? Like what's that like if they're like actually not living together anymore, or like something that's like
And
okay,
on the
they're
show,
progressing. Yeah, on the show, they're
not
progressing
on
their
Buying Beverly
divorce.
Hills.
No. Which I love that show, but we need it
I
on
still haven't
Housewives.
watched it yet,
We need
but
Housewives.
because
We
I
need
was
it on
just so
Housewives.
angry.
Yeah, it
I
was
was just so
annoying.
angry.
It was
Yeah.
frustrating. Yeah. Okay. So anything else in Beverly Hills, or are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dorit's got to go.
Yeah. I mean,
And Dorit was
I'd
my
be okay
fave
with
for
it.
so long, but I
Yeah.
just think that she has nothing else to
The
give.
time has come.
And I think that the producers are still. She's so weird because it's, you know, there's so many housewives who are sort of on the brink of like divorce or sort of marital problems that I feel like they sort of want to try and keep around in case something happens.
Right.
But I just don't think anything is going to happen with in terms of like a divorce for Dorit and PK as long as the cameras are up.
And then maybe something could happen when they're gone, and then she
When
comes
they're
back.
gone and then
Right.
come back single, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like Portia, you know,
Yeah.
and
It is like
also
Portia. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something controversial too.
Okay. Go for it.
She can have one more season, but I'm getting a little sick of Garcelle too.
Can you explain why?
I think that Garcelle is sort of, I think that Rinna sort of clocked a little bit about Garcelle, and Dorit did too in their fights. I think that Garcelle is very good at playing to the audience
Hmm.
instead of being authentic on the show. And so I think that she sort of needs to give us something a little bit different. And it's weird because it's like, obviously you want someone to be there for Sutton, but and have an ally, but I don't know. I think that like actually Garcelle is the liability for Sutton to talk about what
Mm.
Erica said, you know, because Garcelle's, you know, is able to exist in this sort of Sutton friend role, but she really was serving like friend of this season.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like her and to a lesser extent Sutton. I think Sutton has more going on, but like
Oh, absolutely.
when they sort of came for Erica and did all that questioning in that season a
Mm-hmm.
couple seasons ago, I think they earned a lot of brownie points with a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of put them on this pedestal in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
They
I
flopped
think
it this season coming after Kyle.
I agree. I think they tried to replicate that and it didn't quite
Mm-hmm.
work because it was unclear what they were going for. Was Kyle not open about her separation and divorce, or was she not open about Morgan Wade? And those are kind of,
Yeah.
to me, actually two different topics of conversation, but like it got muddled. And so it was unclear what they were doing. And like
And they
it didn't
want the
work.
audience to like them
Mm.
too.
Yeah.
If they weren't so worried about that, we would have gotten somewhere. Because the real question to ask her about Morgan Wade is, what's going on with you and Morgan? Are you sleeping together? And I'm sorry if this sounds invasive, me asking it, but you also spent all that time wondering if Denise was sleeping with Brandy and other
Valid.
women. So I think it's fair to ask you that. But no one wanted to do that with
Nobody
Kyle.
wanted to do that. Nope. And instead we're asking about why she's not wearing her wedding ring. And it's like, well, we're
Yeah.
beating around the bush here. You know,
Colombo.
we're, we're being direct without actually being direct. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I will
that was
also
frustrating.
say that I got really frustrated with the Garcelle and Dorit fight stuff this season. I think that they continue to hash problems that are tired and exhausting, and we're not
Yeah.
getting new drama
No,
each
no, no.
season or new conflicts. And I really just hated that because I feel like whether or not you think Dorit is racist or not, you basically just don't like her. And she wouldn't come out and just say she doesn't like her and kept trying to do the let's be friends, let's work on it. It's like, no, girl, just like say that you don't like her and let's move
Right.
on.
Totally. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay, so Beverly Hills was your number five. My number five is Jersey. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that Jersey is it's sort of like it's interesting because it's like it's this legacy show basically still, because it still is Teresa. It's still about her extended family, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we have this problem of Melissa and Teresa being able to coexist. And Andy keeps
Yeah.
saying that this season it's gonna work. It's not a future sustainable
Mm.
thing, but like it worked for this season as a band-aid. But there's
Andy's
definitely
always talking.
he is
Okay.
always
What
talking.
happens when the talk isn't cheap? And it is what it is.
I
I will say I like Jersey though. I would actually put
enjoy
Jersey in the
it.
same place. I put Jersey in the same place at number four. For me, even though they annoy me, Teresa and Melissa, the show has never been bad.
It's never
A
been
few years
bad.
ago, they had that bad
Yeah.
season with like the twins and whatever, but the show last season was good. I
It hasn't
enjoyed
been
it.
bad for 7 or 8 years at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's consistently good. It's not it hasn't been excellent in quite some time, but it's been consistently good and watchable. There hasn't been a bad season, which honestly is great for a Housewives show because a
Hmm.
consistently good season where you're enjoying every episode and the season is good versus okay, here are some highs and then like three-fourths of the season is abysmal and you don't want to watch it. Like I'd prefer the Jersey route.
Yeah, Jersey to me is very watchable, and like yeah, there's obviously Teresa, Melissa fatigue, but ultimately they're still both huge stars. There's other big stars around them in Margaret, Dolores, Jennifer. Like these are big names in the Housewives world at this point, and like I think they're all fun to watch. Like I don't like, and I think people like get invested in this show because they're on a side or because they're rooting for somebody, and like it can sort of manifest itself in really toxic vibes online. But like if you kind of stay out of that, it's kind of fun to watch and like root for who you want to root for, and just like I don't know, because they get over their they other than Melissa and Teresa, they can spar and then still break bread
They
together.
do. I
Yeah.
wonder what it will be like watching this season with them. Like they have no scenes together whatsoever, right?
Yeah, I think there might be like a couple group dinners maybe, but like yeah, they don't film together at all directly.
Yeah. And if there's a couple group dinners, like I'm sure that they don't get into it at all. You know?
Yeah, yeah. But what I said somewhere else was like the other for this to work, the other women had to chop it up and the other women had to deliver. And like it seems like that from the trailer, the Fudas are
Yeah.
stepping up. Danielle Cabral is coming for Jennifer Aiden. Jackie's
Mm,
jumping ship to the Teresa side. Like there's enough other storylines for me to be interested in, I think, with
yeah.
Jersey.
It's
So
fun. I do wonder where the future of Jersey
me
is,
too. Me too.
but right now they seem like they're in a fine place with this season.
I agree. Okay,
I
so
just don't
yeah.
think the show. I mean, I like Melissa a lot, but I just really just don't think the show exists without Teresa.
It's hard to imagine, and I think that's probably true, but like I do think Melissa is the more like malleable, like open to new people
Hmm.
kind of person. So it's sort of like it
Oh.
depends on how they want to move forward. But Teresa is Jersey in so many ways.
Hmm.
So Jersey is your number four. My number four is Miami. I think it has some of the best actual content of a housewives show right now, probably the
Yes.
best. You know what I mean? Like it's delivered three basically perfect seasons with the exact same cast for three seasons.
Hmm.
Like six women, three friends of who carry more than their fair share of the
Hmm.
weight. Like it gives you everything in so many ways. It's what you want from housewives.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love Miami. I think it's great. I don't know whether it's housewives fatigue or whatever, but I will say as iconic as Miami's been, like especially for three seasons, amazing storylines. I will say this season, I watched every episode, but I will say that sometimes it did take me a couple weeks to catch up on episodes.
Okay. And why do you think that
You
was?
know, I just think that I was just sort of getting exhausted with
Hmm.
some of the storylines. You know, I
Okay.
think that I don't know, like the whole now we've got Todd and Alexia, which is going to be give us a whole
It's
new
good.
dynamic
Yeah.
next season. You know, the Larsa stuff was just sort of annoying to me, but I don't know. I think that I really enjoy the season, um, and it's good. I mean, I would give this season a minus to be honest. You
Yeah,
know,
me too.
whereas the season before I would give an A.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that on the surface, like the rumors of a cash shakeup for Miami don't really make sense if you think about the quality of the show in the past couple of years. But
Mm,
like, I think the producers probably sense some of that. We're kind of you know, in the Adriana Marisol Alexia thing, it's like all
yeah.
we're going in a circle. Like there are
Mhm.
some things that I think that can be broken up, and that's why I don't have it ranked higher. The rumors of the cash shakeup, it doesn't get the best ratings, and so like it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I feel like it doesn't have like enough of like of a share of the whole conversation around housewives. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I'll talk to people and they'll be like, and they'll say the same thing as you. It's like, oh, I'm not caught up, or oh, I actually have been watching Miami. And it's like, why? You know, and I don't really know
Hmm.
why.
I don't either, and I'm like, it can't because it's on Peacock because
No.
at this point, like the
And
Traders was massive. Like we know that people are tuning into Peacock, so why is it
and
that
now it's
people
on
aren't tuning into
Bravo too. Now
Miami?
now it aired on
Yeah.
Bravo this past season for the first time. Like, and so I'm like, that didn't solve the problem though. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I
I
don't
don't
know.
know what it is, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Now there are the rumors of the cast shakeup.
Hmm.
Are there people that are obvious people to put on pause or take a break from for you?
Gibson.
I don't want to get you in trouble, so you don't have to answer.
No,
You don't have to
I'll
answer.
say it. I'll say it. Before this season, I would have fired Gertie.
Okay.
I don't think she was bringing a lot, to be honest. Um, and then we got to see, you know, her powerful cancer journey this season.
Yes.
But I don't know. Right in the reunion, I was talking about this. I felt like in the reunion, like the way she was harping on like a lot of the Larsa stuff, and then also inserting herself into everyone else's fight to sort of like make it the Gertie show
Right.
in the reunion was exhausting to me.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't axe her from the show, but I don't know if there's anyone next season who would be brave enough to go after Gertie
Right. It's so
in a
she's sort of like an
conflict.
untouchable force right now, and
Yeah,
also, but also because she has trouble letting things go. I think. Yeah, and it's
she does. She has trouble letting things go, and it's very Beverly Hills.
yeah.
And that's it. Because I just felt like, okay, Larsa is stupid, and I just don't think that that conflict with Larsa should have lasted the entire season. Because
Yeah.
she's dumb. She doesn't know what she's talking
They
about.
were playing in different fields basically, and like
Yes.
they were never gonna see fully eye to eye, and Gertie like couldn't
Mm-hmm.
see that. She was trying to make a point that like was never gonna really get into Larsa's head. Like she clearly wasn't
Mm-hmm.
understanding what Gertie was putting
Larsa's
down.
not even in her head, okay? Like, like
But
when the person is asking you, cancer, how do you know? I
right.
mean, you sort of just have to be like, okay, girl, and move on, you know?
Yeah. And like Larsa
Is
to me is like she's so
I'm up
watchable.
and down. I know. I'm like, she was. She was stressing me out at the beginning of the
Maddening.
season,
Yeah.
but then she was so fucking funny on Traitors that I fell in
Uh,
love with her again. It's sort of that Phaedra effect,
yeah.
you
Which
know,
like
because
which you kind of I kind of like having somebody like that around, to be
of
honest.
course, the same like like the Phaedra effect, but also like Phaedra was boring as hell on Married to Medicine.
She
So thank God
was.
for Traitors, you know.
Yeah.
I like having Larsa around too. I think she's fine. The Marcus Jordan stuff is trifling. The
Hmm.
back together, breaking up, whatever. It's I don't know what's going on there. Question: has Nicole had the baby already?
I think so. I'm gonna check
Okay,
that actually.
okay, because pregnant housewives tend to not be fun on the show.
You're correct. You're correct. Yep, she's had the baby. Yes.
Okay, because I don't want an Eva Marcel situation.
No, I
Eva, who's
agree.
so
And
amazing. By the
she's an
way, we didn't talk
amazing.
about her
Oh
with
my God, she
Atlanta.
was amazing. I know. Wait,
Would love for
actually,
her to come back.
did you do you think that what do you think the deal is there? Does she not want to come back, do you think? Because her obviously when she was on the show, her life was like not
Hmm.
where it needed to be, I guess. But like
Yeah,
Girls Trip, she was iconic. I loved
she
her.
was the best part of that season for me. I don't know. I think maybe it's probably her decision.
Yeah. Which like, you
I,
know what? She holds the card. So if she wants to
yeah,
come back, she can probably come back whenever she wants.
yeah. I would love to see Eva, like maybe
Me
even
too.
just a friend of role. I especially think that I don't know what's going to happen with it. Like, did Marlo get fired?
Yeah, she's
We don't
gone.
know. She's
Yeah.
gone, but will she
Yeah.
be there as a friend of?
It sounded like a farewell to me. I think
Okay.
Marlo works tremendously well as a friend of and just didn't
She
work as a
does. She
housewife.
never should have been elevated, to be
Yeah.
honest. After that first season,
I'm
she should
glad
have
they
just been
tried
knocked back
it, but
down.
it
Yeah,
lasted a little too long. Yeah.
yeah. It should have been just that one season and done, then back to friend of, to be honest.
Right.
But I think that Eva around with Marlo would be fun.
Totally agree.
The only thing we
Um,
remember from that one season is their bus fight.
oh my God, yes. Oh my God, that was so good. Was that like in Tokyo or something? Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
so
was in
good.
Tokyo. That
Uh,
episode is always circulating
that's a
online,
good
and people
episode.
love
Yeah,
that
that was a good
episode.
trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number three, Ira, is Orange County.
Mm.
It's probably one of the ones that I am like least like overall invested in a weird way, but like
Hmm.
it's had a couple tough seasons. Last season was much better. It got Tamara came back, put them
I
on a
thought last
better.
season was iconic.
I loved it, but I
Yeah.
think that like Tamara was trying like by the end she was just like trying a little bit too hard for me.
Hmm.
And so I think that this her second season back she'll calm down a little bit. It is so much to like root for. It's like or to look forward to. It's like Alexis, John and Shannon, Shannon and Tamara, Vicky's back in confessionals. Joe is back for the finale. Like there's a lot that I'm intrigued by. What about
Hmm.
you? What are your thoughts on on OC?
OC for me is my number two. I think that this season that's coming up, there's so much excitement and
Yeah.
buzz around it that hasn't been around OC in forever. Um, Everyone's delivering. I have a weird relationship with OC in that it's never been one that's like I've been personally connected to.
Right,
I
same.
didn't used to watch it, but I would always see bits and pieces of it, obviously. And then when Heather Dubrow was coming back, I went back and watched when she started on the show, and then got caught up, and
Hmm.
then became hooked on the show.
Those are good years. Those are
You
good years on
know,
the show.
became absolutely hooked, and I think that like the women are doing their jobs and they're doing it well. And I think the ratings are still good for OC. And I think that last year Tamara was doing a bit too much, but she was doing too much because they do too little, to quote
Hey.
Vandra, like you sort of needed her and there was really no one else who was going to sort of like put Heather on the ropes, and like Heather's always good when she's on like the defense, and Emily was bad at it. She had her conflict with her, but she couldn't articulate it.
I
And
agree.
honestly, even if Tamara was doing too much, she still did enough to get all of those women whipped up and mad at
Completely.
Heather, and then only for us to get one of my favorite Housewives episodes that aired in the past year, that finale
Hmm.
where Heather just sort of like systematically one by one goes through all the women, just eviscerates their stupid reasons for being mad at her, doesn't give Tamara the time of day, and then walks out of that party. And
Mm.
Heather Dubrow won that fight that season. And I was like, that was a beautiful arc.
I completely agree. I think what was beautiful about it is the fact that I think Tamra in her mind pictured it culminating for her in the
Mm-hmm.
finale at that big party. But it actually, the script was flipped by Heather because Tamra in some ways underestimated Heather, I think,
Yeah.
and how clocked in she was. And so like it was a great ending. You're so right. Like
Yeah.
it was not
And
the
then
one that Tamra planned.
the reunion, then we all came into the reunion after the show had aired, and those women were not expecting Heather to be the fan favorite that season.
No,
So,
no.
yeah, Heather was not having to defend herself at that reunion. They were all having to defend why they were hating on her so much all season. And I thought it was a great reunion.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons in Housewives, I think, is that when it's a gang up, people are going to root for the underdog. They're going to root for the person that's being targeted almost every
Yeah.
single time, especially when it's somebody as beloved as Heather. Like, please, next
Mm-hmm.
question. So I think that, again, next season, Tamara and Heather seem to be like best buds again. So
Yeah. I mean,
it's,
how can you not like Tamra Judge? I love her.
I mean,
Even when
she's an
she
amazing
annoys me,
housewife. She
she's
truly
amazing
is.
housewife. She's funny too. Honestly, the only knock against Tamra is, her co-host.
Her podcast co-host. Exactly. Yeah. I no, I think that yeah, with Tamara, it's like it's this beautiful thing where like even when you're annoyed by her, you know that like in a week or two you like won't be annoyed by her and like it's not gonna
Mm,
stick. The negative feelings about her will never stick. It's just like
yeah,
it's because she did one thing, and then
yeah.
we're back in her good and she's back in her good graces.
She's so watchable too.
Yeah.
So she's fun.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the season.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
then
So OC was your number two. Beverly Hills is my number two. So
mhm.
clearly we have the same number one in Salt Lake City. I mean, it had to be that, right?
How can you not have Salt Lake City as your number one? It was the most talked about Real Housewives of the past year.
Yep. It had one of those moments like Beverly Hills has had a lot of in recent years
Hmm.
where it broke through the zeitgeist. It was mainstream.
Hmm.
There were explainer articles. What is reality Von Teese? Like who is Monica
Yeah,
Garcia? Like that's what they want out of these shows. They want a moment
yeah.
that sort of breaks the internet for a second, you know?
This was the one of the only ones in recent memory. Obviously, I have friends who like still watch Potomac or whatever, or Beverly Hills, and sometimes they'd come over to watch it with me or whatever. But I don't know. There were several people that I had in my apartment for the finale
Uh,
of Salt Lake this year. People who like I didn't even really know cared about Salt Lake City, or people who just sort of casually watched and knew about it over the years. I'm like, we were all enraptured, and it was. Do you remember the last time like you've had like a
oh,
big watch party for a Housewives episode with like so many different people
no,
caring about it?
no, you're right. It feels like the one show that everybody's watching. If you watch Housewives, you probably watch Salt Lake. And
Mm-hmm.
that's power to me. That's
Right.
essential viewing, you know?
And its ratings are reflected in the like sort of streaming after, because Salt
Right.
Lake is definitely the show where within the past year or two, friends who've never watched Housewives over the like long decade 2 decades we've been watching them,
Whew,
finally telling me that I started watching Salt Lake
I'm
City.
ready.
I'm into Salt Lake City, and I'm like, I love it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
Salt
it
Lake is
also
number
is
one.
it's had an amazing short run, but that's the operative word is short, is that like if somebody wants to jump into Housewives, that's where you have to jump in because
Mm-hmm.
it picks up so quickly and it has sustained it more or less for 4 seasons now with this like amazing core cast. So
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake City is it. I'm curious how they follow it up, but I don't have any doubts about it. You know what I mean? I'm just
Mm-hmm.
sort of like they're gonna figure something. There's this group of women who can't help themselves, and they
Yeah,
just it's this like postmodern housewives that
yeah.
I just love.
I'm never counting out these women because everyone thought the show was dead after Judge Shaw, and then it wasn't. And I think that the show is gonna. I don't know. Season two had its highest ratings. Season four had sort of its lowest, but the season four finale was the highest rated of the series ever. And I think that with that momentum, people are going to be going into next season with what's going on. And I think actually it's the highest rated. And it wasn't just because of Monica. It was
No,
so many people had been catching up on this show and like hearing about it. Like It was in the zeitgeist. It was giving Melrose Place. It was giving Grey's Anatomy. It was giving Scandal. You know, like people want to be watching and talking about it. And I think that when season 5 drops, like friends are going to be texting me, you know, like, are we getting together to watch the Salt Lake City premiere?
Oh my God, yeah.
Which honestly, my friends and I did for the Salt Lake City premiere season 1, you know?
Right.
So
Smells like
it's
hospital.
managed to be within the
Yeah.
zeitgeist for so long. And from Jen Shaw to Real Housewives, it's just like each season has had a zeitgeist like news moment. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get plenty. We already have one for season 5, you
We
know,
already have one from season
with
5 in the
Mary
Mary
Cosby
thing.
calling
Jesus.
Lisa's son the R word, which of course she did.
Yeah, like who's
And
surprised? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I'm not surprised. That's why she was brought back, you know? And
Stirred up.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do the thing with people where they're like, she has to be fired or like be morally aghast. It's like this is why we watch the show. And I also called it online. It's very first 8 seasons of Orange County coded. Because I'm pretty sure that word was probably thrown around on that show
I'm sure
back
it
then
was.
too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, listen, you don't condone it, you don't support it, but like people got to learn from their mistakes, and maybe Mary will learn something in this. I don't know. Maybe that's asking too
Yeah.
much. But well, Ira, this was fun. I feel like we agreed for the most part on the
Yeah.
trajectory of this, honestly. And yeah, I appreciate you doing this. When do you release new episodes of your podcast? When's your book coming out? All the
They
things.
come out Wednesdays. So you can listen to Keep It on Wednesdays or you can watch it on YouTube on the Keep It channel. And the book is coming out in February. So,
So exciting.
there'll be a pre-order link soon or whatever. I'm still like I'm on the final draft of it. So it's coming. But it's called Pure Innocent Fun. And if you're a Bravo fan, you know that quote comes from Nene.
I'm here for it. I can't wait. I'll be at the book launch, all the things. Ira, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. I'm gonna have a cover launch first, like Heather Gay.
And on that note, bad gay. All right, bye.
Bye.
I want to gab.